Oh, we're live.
All right.
Okay, welcome
Good
back,
afternoon.
Dr. Pei. So, Dr. Pei, you want to tell us a little bit about your what you do, the name of your business, where you're at. Well, the name of two of your businesses.
Oh, okay. Uh, Everybody, my name is Dr. Pei. I am the CEO for Ohana Natural Health, and I also have a co-business with Tea Botanics. So in there, we do a mixture of teas to help with different symptoms and conditions of, you know, let's say hot flashes or menopausal symptoms or, you know, conditions that revolve around sleep or happiness, things of that nature. So I've been doing this work for about 16, 17 years now. And my practice is a lot of autoimmune conditions, people with rheumatoid arthritis, AS, lupus, things of that nature. So, you know, happy to be here answering some questions that people may have.
Okay, great. So, these are questions that have come in over really since the last couple weeks that we did this first one. So I'm going to ask this first question. You know this came from a woman. How do I get rid of belly fat?
Okay. The belly fat, as in like menopausal, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, as in menopausal.
Everything is kind of centered around that.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, we have to talk about, of course, diet. And if you're going to be eating lots of carbohydrates, lots of sugar, probably no chance. But let's say you're following everything like you, D. You exercise, you eat healthy. And if you come to me with a pot belly or what is that called, a muffin top, then I would say, all right, maybe there is some hormonal shift. Perhaps your estrogen is too dominant. Postmenopausal or premenopausal doesn't matter. You might be a little too dominant on estrogen, and sometimes you're just low on progesterone because progesterone would actually help you burn the belly fat. Another one is because progesterone makes all these other hormones too, like testosterone and DHEA. You might be low on those too. So remember, this is none of these are medical advice. For any hormonal supplements, you must consult with your personal doctors, holistic and whatnot, and they might determine that with testing to see what kind of things you need. But let's say you were on some natural foods for progesterone and DHEA, and your energy is good, and you still got, belly fat. Well, we really have to look at the whole picture. Are you able to detox? Is your methylation, the B vitamins, the folate, the pathway to detox, is that clear? So those are some of the things that we have to look at. Aside from that, you can always do interval training, high intensity interval training. You can always do intermittent fasting. Those will really help you lose the fat because it really raises that NAD, the B3 uh, precursors. So that would be something: exercise, good diet, good sleep, looking at the progesterone, DHEA, for example. And it's a long one, sorry.
Okay. So I mean, kind of staying on it a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some? Are there hormonal foods? Are there foods that, like, if I'm low in something that can I eat? Are there supplements that are on the market? I mean, what is the like? What's a natural approach before I, go to my doctor who might recommend bioidenticals or hormone therapy?
Right. So as I mentioned, when you look at supplementation, you have to be careful what you take because you really don't know whether you're high in estrogen, low in estrogen, high in progesterone, low in progesterone, because even the symptoms could be misleading. For example, you could have prolonged bleeding, but that could be a sign of too much estrogen or too low of progesterone. So, with bioidenticals, since I don't do them in the office, I would have to say you have to talk to the doctors who do blood tests or hormone tests, saliva testing and so forth to do bioidenticals. But if we were strictly talking about hormonal foods, let's say that you knew you were low in estrogen. Okay, you could look into foods such as uh, alfalfa, right? Sprouted greens. You could look into those. You could also look into red clover. Red clover would be really good in naturally boosting these. But you also have to think if you're postmenopausal, Are you at risk for estrogen dominance where it leads to perhaps breast cancer? So many things. For example, we always say flax is good, but sometimes, okay, if you're too much estrogen and then you have a history of, say, cancer genes like BRCA1 or 2 being overactive, and then they could not suppress cancer, okay, now taking flax may be a problem. Eating soy could be a problem, even though, okay, technically, phytoestrogens like soy, if it's organic, it's good for you. So to answer that shortly, I can't, but I would say, if like, let's say you're vaginally dry or something, okay, you might need some estrogen. Eating organic tofu wouldn't hurt too much. Just need to make sure that your liver is able to detox. Okay, how do you detox? Well, you have to look at many facets. If you're unable to sleep at night, for example, your methylation could be off, your adrenals could be off. So, again, to know which hormonal supplements to take is a very complicated procedure.
Okay. Um, so that's a very doctor centric
Sorry.
thing that you have to. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah. Basically saying you have to go see a
You
doctor.
have to go see your doctor. Right. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. You basically have to say you have to go see your doctor, get your hormones tested, and then from that you can start to evaluate. You know
That's correct.
what's really going on. Okay. Um, so this is an interesting question. How can I naturally delay menopause?
The inevitable, right? At some point.
Yeah.
Let's say we were to live to 100. Your job, as we were born, would be to keep the mitochondria, the telomeres, from shortening, and to boost the antioxidants so that you could look young into the future. So to delay it, okay, well, you need good fatty acids. You need good elastin. This is why ladies would take collagen. Now, normally in the office, because I do a lot of muscle testing, collagen doesn't seem to be the one that tests for a lot of ladies for some reason. And I think it has something to do with the indigestion, with the current atmosphere, with the current environmental toxins, with the plastics, the heavy metals in the air. I think ladies are having a hard time digesting collagen. But the elastin that's in there really will pay dividends to make you look young and delay the inevitable. But my goal is for all the ladies to hit menopause or semi-retirement from that in a smooth transition. So yes, antioxidants, DHEA, which will make the testosterone, having a balance of good fatty acids like omega threes and sixes, a good balance of vitamin B's, vitamin D, D as in dog. Those are huge to delay the menopause, if you will.
Okay. Um, so what does so collagen? There's so much that powdered collagen is when you talk collagen, are you talking about people who are taking that?
Yeah, I'm talking about those collagen where they have all kinds of amino acids like glycine, glutamate. I mean, when you mix them together, I'm not sure. Perhaps the glutamate will convert to too much to MSG, which will excite the ladies too much. In some ways, I'm not sure exactly why the premenopausal ladies don't test too well, but the postmenopausal they test better.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
More
So in
research.
general, yeah, in general, it's good though, right?
Okay.
Collagen in general is good, but you have to add it in with vitamin C, maybe some black pepper, in order to improve the absorption rate. But from my clinical experience, for some reason, most ladies don't test for that. There's another one that doesn't test well for my patients, like kombucha. Yeah, that doesn't test very well for ladies. But I noticed a lot of the ladies during that time, they have a lot of fungal yeast infections during this transition because their hormones spike, especially in the prolactin, which induces a lower immune system. And then all kinds of fungal yeast, bacterial, parasitic infections come on out. Of course, there's other factors to this, but yeah, that is the trend that's showing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know one of my really dear friends had really horrible yeast infections for a few years, and finally she had to remove. like stuff like gluten from her diet, which she never really had any problems until she got into the hormonal change. Sugar,
Yeah,
both
she
dessert
might,
and
yeah,
alcohol.
might
And
have to look into at
eventually,
least probiotics. Yes.
yeah, and eventually the yeast infections went away. But if she overindulges in that, it will still come back.
Right. And the point is, we can't look at yeast as the culprit. I know a lot of people look at the Candida yeast cleanse diet, they're like, this is all it is. Well, when you have a sinus infection, you can say for sure maybe there is some yeast involved. But Candida, for example, to me that is a cleanup crew. So it's like the first guys on the crime scene. If you all if all we care about is cleaning those up, then we're missing the big picture. The biofilms and the bacteria that could be behind it, or the viruses that could be behind it. We want to see what is really causing the problem, because I might have mentioned this before. Heavy metals, they strongly bind or chelate to yeast. So is it the yeast, or is it the heavy metals, right? And
Oh,
that is a hard one to know, except when you go to your doctor, hopefully we could differentiate them from you, because I mean, with all these biochemistries going on, thousands of them every second, it's harder to understand. Now, if you say, okay, let's detox the heavy metals, what about the methylation? What about your hemoglobin, your blood, your vitamin B levels? Are you able to detox, right? So the person who could not properly detox could not properly get rid of yeast, and then could not properly get the microbiome together. There are so many things at play, but can't go wrong with probiotics, right?
right, right. Um, let's stay on that detox for a second. When you say that a person, if they don't have the ability to detox, what does that mean? I mean, what is that? I mean, a lot of people, even hearing the word heavy metals being inside your body, have no, like, I didn't know anything about heavy metals until maybe I was 30. It's the first time I heard
Hmm.
about like heavy metals can be in your body. I mean, of course, I knew I had like mercury fillings and stuff like that. I think
Sure.
people they'll know it as silver in their mouth, but
Yeah.
outside of that, most people have no comprehension of really what are you talking about when you talk about heavy metals. My doctor has never, if I go to a, a you know, uh, a PPP or HMO, I've never had a doctor ever say, well, let's test for some heavy metals in your body. That just isn't the course of thought and action there. So when hearing this heavy metals in the body and detoxing it, and the ability that their body can or cannot detox that, what does that mean?
So, uh, the heavy metals, the top ones that we see in the office are obviously mercury. People think about mercury as coming from fish only, but as you alluded to, it could be in your fillings, the amalgams that contain maybe even aluminum, lead, uh, mercury, all that stuff in there. My personal experience was trying to remove those fillings, and it messed me up because my methylation genetics were a little bit off. Right? There is a little bit of variant in my MTHFR genes, and when your genes are turned on and off. Now, I am saying these are epigenetic genes, which means that your environment will shape them. So I am not in any way saying that if your genetics are messed up, that you cannot detox. But let's say aluminum, mercury, lead, and let's say copper. Okay, well, since we're talking about the ladies, yeah, some of the copper IUDs can cause copper toxicity. Right? If you're in Torrance a few years ago, we had that refinery just explode, and that released a bunch of lead, arsenic, mercury, everything into the air. So you can say these are industrial toxins. Now, was it intended? Of course not. But there's a lot more things that we couldn't talk on this space about. But yeah, you want to detox. You want to be able to let the body naturally chelate them. So if you're low in blood, let's say you're anemic, um, I mean, estrogen and progesterone, they go into your bone marrow. They start to help you build blood, right? When you can build blood, you can have more red blood cells, which will carry hemoglobin. If you're anemic, it's like trying to wash dishes without water. It doesn't really go that way. So what we found a good way, if it's an inhalation toxin, is to use zeolite, liquid zeolite that comes with a lot of humic acid that can bind to the toxins and flush them out without using or depleting most of our vitamin B. B is in boy, so the B complex. So in order to speed up and make sure that your body can detox well, without going into all the crazy details, the methylation we talked about is to make sure that the body can properly use your folate to detox. So I would say eating lots of beets and beet tops would help you with that. You know, one of the things we talked about too in drawing a connection is using artichoke. I'm sure people have the experience of eating artichoke. Not the best tasting thing for me personally, that little weird sour taste, but you know. But artichoke is a good prebiotic, like chicken roots. So it would actually help the microbiome, your probiotics, get that food that they need to help you move toxins out in the gut. Because you remember, when you detox, the liver dumps them all into the large intestine. So when you don't have proper microbiome, you also cannot move things out. So then, when artichoke is in your diet, then you can also help the body make more bile salt, which will also help you cleanse. So in short, you have to really know what you're dealing with. Sometimes the body will keep them. If you have too much heavy metal, but you don't have enough minerals of your own, the body will tend to hold on to the bad guys, and not detox them because you don't have enough mineral. One of them would be zinc. If you don't have enough zinc, you can't really detox too. And zinc and copper are a synergistic couple. So when you have too much copper, like say with the IODs or something, then your zinc will go down too, and then your hormones go out of whack and your immune system go out of whack. Because if you recall, I think we mentioned this before somewhere, where zinc, when you take them on a regular basis, like the zinc chelate or something, it would really help the body fend off virus replication in the beginning stages. It's a good one to take on a daily basis to keep your immune system in check and also keep your hormones in check.
This is a kind of a complicated question. How can I get rid of hot flashes when I've had a full hysterectomy about 10 years ago?
How many years ago?
10.
10. Um, so that depends on the person too. Full hysterectomy means that the ovaries and uterus are both gone. So now your body is not making enough estrogen and progesterone, and you have to rely on the adrenal glands to do it. So when the adrenal glands are full of stress, let's say, and your cortisol is rising, that really can trigger the hypothalamus to go into overheat. So to stop it, you have to really look at what they are missing. Are they missing the fatty acids, like the component to make cholesterol that could make the progesterone and estrogen both to keep the hot flashes down, or is the lady dealing with a lot of autoimmune issues? We don't know because if you have an autoimmune issue, right after you go into menopause, that would be early menopause for that lady, and then the prolactin goes up, which lowers the immune system. So now the pineal gland and hypothalamus does not have enough vitamin D, D is in dog, which will, form the serotonin and the melatonin. So the answer is so multifold that I would say, if I have to guess, obviously I developed the GABA tea, the hot flash tea, which includes the GABA in there. And this GABA is so potent because it's not measured in the milligrams, but it's in a form that it contains other ingredients like L-theanine and other vitamin B complexes that it can drive it into the brain quickly. The only downside is when you drink tea, you need some additional fat soluble vitamin D. So I would say, in order to solve it, maybe take vitamin D3 or D2 in the form of mushrooms, right? Those two, plus, let's say, hot flash tea or anything that can calm the nerves down, like chamomile tea can do some too. But it's more complicated though, because, hysterectomy puts her at an early menopause. You there, D?
Uh-huh.
Did I
um,
put you to sleep? My
no,
bad.
no, just, technical.
Uh,
um,
I got to keep
What
it
is
more simple here.
here's a good question. What is the best vitamin combination to take to maintain an active lifestyle?
Man, there is a lot to say there, but let's say it's menopausal ladies. Well, first of all, they gotta see if they have any of the symptoms. If they don't, an annual blood test will tell them how's your vitamin D level. So first things first, always start with vitamin D. D is crucial, and to be in the functional range, you want to be at least 50 nanograms. You know, so you can start there. Vitamin B, B is in boy. B complex is huge because I shouldn't say, the number one complaint that I get in the office probably is a tie between hot flashes, brain fog, etc. So you need vitamin B complex, those two. And if you're in the dark, you don't have a doctor, you don't know what's happening, maybe you could look into zeolite. Zeolite along with humic acid, because those will help you detox, but also give you a good nutrient profile, like mineral profile. So next would be the mineral and fatty acids. I would definitely make sure to have enough omega-3 sixes, and usually pre-menopausal or post-menopausal, you're looking at like evening primrose oil or black currant seed oil of that type. But for the ladies who are really, really low on pituitary hormone production, then you might have to look at wheat germ oil. So in short, we're saying A, B, C, D, E, F, right? Everything. But yeah, to start with the vitamin D's, vitamins, B's, of course, C is for your immune system and also important for your adrenals. So for postmenopausal ladies, I would definitely look into adrenal support, and C complex is huge. And we're not just talking about ascorbic acid because that's only part of the C complex. The best way is to eat these fatty mushrooms. You know, they contain everything you need, full complement.
You said eat what? Fatty mushrooms?
Yeah, the Chinese market, they have these things called wood ear. I don't know if people have heard of it. It's the black wood ear, and that's pretty nutritious. It looks kind of nasty, and it really closely resembles to chaga mushroom, which is similar color but orangey, that grows on trees. They look like a piece of fungus, But chaga mushrooms and these wood ear mushrooms and other, mushrooms that are out there in the market, they're good. Obviously, if you look at a multicolored mushroom, you should stay away from them. But other than that, most mushrooms are good. They are high profile in every nutrient uh, element that you need. Vitamins B, C, D, right? D2, not D3, but D2. So those are huge for any postmenopausal or perimenopausal women.
Can you spell the first mushroom, the one that started with a W?
Oh, wood,
Oh, wood.
wood. Yeah, wood
Wood.
year, like year,
Okay,
wood
wood
year.
ear. Okay, got it.
It's
Okay.
shaped like it, so they used to call them that.
Okay, got it.
Like
I
guinea
just know
pig,
we're
right?
going to get questions of people not. What was that name of that mushroom?
Yeah, wood years and chaga mushroom. You've seen chaga mushroom before? It looks
I
too
don't think
ugly,
so.
so they just make it into powder most of the time. And it's
Okay.
pretty popular now among the coffee enthusiasts. Coffee is a good one to talk about because you kind of don't want to drink too much coffee. Now, I've known some ladies that drink, let's say, the hot flash tea, but their hot flashes get worse. That's interesting. So those are probably the ladies that harbor chronic stress. So for those ladies, I would ask them to maybe do some ashwagandha. Now, that's of course them coming into the office. I would check them to see, hey, do they need ashwagandha? Do they need some other components so that the hot flash tea would actually calm the hot flashes instead of raising it, because the caffeine, right, in the coffee could raise the noradrenaline. And when that happens, hot flash tea is supposed to reduce the hot flashes, but now it increases it. So it really depends on the person. But we can only make the tea to fit most of the percentage of people and not like 1% of the population or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, but coffee would be, if you mix it with chaga mushrooms, it will really lighten the load for ladies with adrenal issues, the ones that are just going into menopause or are chronically stressed. Chaga mushroom coffee is, a good choice.
Yep. I mean, a lot of people who drink coffee, especially, are drinking it because they are depleted, right? And
Yeah.
they're drinking it to get a boost, especially if you are drinking coffee throughout the day
Yeah.
as a way to get through the day. I know a lot of times we become habitual on something. And so your morning coffee might just be part of a ritual and not necessarily that you needed the boost first thing in the morning. But
Yeah.
you might need the boost first thing in the morning. But if you're definitely drinking coffee all day long, then you probably got some adrenal issues for sure that you
Sure.
can't
And
keep
that's
your energy
why
sustained.
and that's why if they really need the caffeine, I always say you can always try some you know, oolong tea or green tea because that could probably replace the coffee if you're not a huge coffee drinker. So, I don't drink coffee. I like the aroma. I have the coffee beans around, but I don't drink the coffee. I drink tea, you know, pretty much all day, but because it's diuretic and there are acids in there that the system cannot handle sometimes. So what we would say is, don't drink more than 2 to 3 cups a day and still make sure you fully hydrate.
So people think they're hydrating when they drink coffee, and they think they're hydrating when they drink tea, and they think they're hydrating when they drink Pepsi, and they hydrating when they drink juice. Can you talk about that?
No, I mean, it's got water content in there, but then the side effect of it is it actually depletes the water. For example, I mean, a lot of people don't know that our mitochondria makes ATP energy, but through the complex reactions, they also make water. This is why we could get by with eating foods that are high in water content and don't have to drink water. Now, if you exercise, you must drink water. But the electrolytes lost by drinking plain water is also big. So, maybe use some coconut water to replenish the electrolyte. But if you're drinking soda, the acidity will really render the NAD or the ATP processes of your mitochondria inert. So you're essentially depleting yourself the ability of the cells to make water. It's an oxymoron. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Like if you drink, any sodas. Now, juices, if it's freshly squeezed, okay, but sugar also stops that process because, again, you're going to spike the insulin and then you're going to crash. And every system crashes. The higher you go, the faster it crashes. So, all high sugar drinks are in fact going to turn off the mitochondria, the ability of the mitochondria to make water. So no, coffee is also a diuretic too, aside from being a little bit more acidic. Tea is also diuretic, but the antioxidants probably more than over makes up for it. So coming from a guy who drinks soda for like 21 years, it's tough to swallow. But yeah, I haven't touched a soda in a long, long time.
Okay. Well, Dr. Pei, we're at our 30 minutes. We're at 12:30, I think. So this has been
It
great.
is.
We did have a few more questions that we'll touch on next time. There's a question about, how do I get better sleep? There's some specific questions about like uh, stamina and estrogen. Um, there's a question here about heavy periods. Didn't have it. Now I have it. That kind of change. So those will be the questions that we will start off with
Okay.
next month and posing and on our website, tbotanics.com. You can go to events and see the next time we're going to have Dr. Pei on. And of course, on our Facebook page, which people are on right now, you'll also be able to, we'll post the next time Dr. Pei is going to be on. So, Dr. Pei, thank you again.
Okay. Thanks
Okay.
to everyone who's listening, and hopefully it's been somewhat helpful.
All right. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.